It's finally over. The MCU's Phase 3 has come to a close. Not with the movie that has end in the title, but with Spider-Man going on a Euro trip with his friends. So Spider-Man Far From Home is in theaters now. That's what we're going to talk about today with all sorts of spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie...
Okay, first off, Meg, you wrote our review. So what did you think of Spider-Man Far From Home?
It's a very fun movie. I will say that right out the gate, because it's going to sound kind of like I don't like it.
Yeah, I feel like there's a but coming.
Yes, there's a little bit of a but coming, but that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It's very fun and it's very cute. And the cast, if you liked Homecoming, you're gonna like this movie. It's cute and fun, and everybody is still being cute and fun. However, the logic of the way that the movie kind of hangs together doesn't really work. In the shadow of Endgame, these problems become really obvious, and that is a little bit frustrating, but your mileage may vary depending on how much you care about it.
I kind of felt the same way. Like it's a fun, enjoyable movie, and I was definitely like there for the ride.
Right.
But I had some issues afterward, and so to me it felt like not the note that I would hope that the massive undertaking that Phase 3 is, would end on.
Yeah, exactly. Like the problem, and we're getting into like real spoiler territory now. So if, again, this is your final warning, this movie hinges entirely on the idea that Peter Parker is functionally like one of the last superheroes on Earth. Like he's the only one that Fury and Hill and, kind of the remnants of S.H.I.E.L.D. can call upon to deal with this big threat. And that's the threat you see in the trailers with Mysterio and the Elementals.
But that's bullshit.
Right, that's
it's
absolutely
not
true. Kind of if you pay attention to Endgame and you come into this movie, Wakanda's completely public. There is a literal city of Asgardians. Like, there are so many heroes in the MCU now after Endgame that the idea that Nick Fury has to be like, this 16-year-old kid is our only hope.
There's literally a fire monster that's gonna suck up the Earth's core and destroy the entire planet, and this kid from Queens
who doesn't want to do it
is the only fucking person. It doesn't make sense.
It makes no sense at all, and it's very weird to like have that be the thing. Like the whole movie hinges on you buying that. Like you have to be 100. Like they kind of name check like 3 or 4 heroes. Like, oh, where's Doctor Strange? Oh, he's unavailable. Oh, like
right. There's that scene where
they
list a few, and it's like, I just saw Endgame. Like, I know there are more than this.
Like, where is Hope? Where is Scott? Where is, like, Pepper Potts
where's Pepper?
Has an Iron Man armor now, and she just doesn't... She's not even name-checked.
Where's fucking Falcon? Where's War Machine?
Like, there's so many people.
Where's Hawkeye? What's Hawkeye doing?
None of this makes sense.
So the story of this movie is that Peter Parker is going on this, like, European field trip with his class, and Nick Fury is trying to call him, and Peter wants nothing to do with it.
Right.
But Fury's problem is that Mysterio has shown up. They encountered him down in Mexico.
Right.
And Mysterio says that these elementals, which are different from the elementals in the comics, are attacking, and they're going to destroy the planet, and they already destroyed Mysterio's planet in another dimension. And the only person who can help with that is
the only one who
Spider-Man.
Is a 16-year-old kid who really just wants to go on this European trip.
And that's the setup, and the twist, obviously, is that Mysterio is actually a guy who used to work for Tony Stark, who got fired, and he's a disgruntled employee. And he's gathered all these other disgruntled employees around him, and it's all the most convoluted plot ever.
It's insane. The point Mysterio is trying to make is the fact that now that there are no more heroes in the MCU, he wants his
Which
rightful...
I would dispute.
Right, yeah, me too. But in Mysterio's mind, he's like, well, now it's my chance, and so I'm gonna make this giant production of me saving the world, and so everyone will think that I'm a hero, and I'll have all the attention and glory.
I don't really understand
Tony
why.
Stark
I never really. Why? Why is he doing it?
He wants to be a hero, but in order to be a hero, he wants to make his
hero,
right. He wants to orchestrate his own disasters, and so that he can sweep in and save the day.
Right,
and so everyone will be like, "Yay, Mysterio!"
So the whole point of Mysterio becoming friends with Peter is to trick him in the most convoluted way possible into giving him the Edith Glasses,
which are essentially they're not the barf glasses, but they're the glasses.
It's like an evolution of that, so that he can do cool drone.
Yeah, he's got
hologram shows.
He's got the cool tech. I don't know. I mean, it's very weird, and the whole point this movie, like, you know how they kind of imply in the trailers that, like, oh, it's going to be about whether or not Peter is the next Tony Stark. This movie does not leave that, like, ambiguous. Like, it is literally asked
right, like multiple
over
people,
and
like,
over
happy
and
and
over
fury,
again.
and like everybody is telling Peter, like, you got to be the guy.
Yeah.
I know you're only 16 and have nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
But you're the next
You're the guy.
Tony Stark.
Sorry.
Bitch, please, you've been to space.
What did you like about this movie? That's what I want to hear.
I really appreciate Jake Gyllenhaal as an actor. I mean, Mysterio's plan and his whole, you know, kind of deal is super convoluted and really weird if you think about it. But Jake Gyllenhaal's so funny and so charming that he and Tom Holland are amazing together.
It's kind of a good twist, too.
Yeah, it's a really nice, because like the whole time you can kind of see it coming. They telegraph it a little early, and you're just like sitting there like, no, don't, like, be friends. This is so fun.
By the time Peter gives him the glasses, it's already like, there are too many things falling into place.
Right.
Mysterio's too good.
Yeah,
and,
and you just sit there just being like, no, please don't. There's a bunch of very fun, cute, like the guy, if you remember all the way back in Iron Man 1, the like Tony Stark built this in a cave with scraps guy. The dude who Jeff Bridges screams at gets a shout out. And
I love that.
Extremely funny.
That's one of my favorite MCU memes.
Yes.
Of all time.
Yeah.
Tony Stark built this in a cave.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps.
I want to talk about the characters.
Yeah.
Because although Hannibal Buress did not
No,
return, which is
why
a
didn't
bummer,
they?
many other characters from Spider-Man Homecoming came back.
Yes.
And so it is, you know, in a branch of this world that has all these characters that we like. Even if I have complaints about the movie,
Sure.
I'm not mad about like hanging out with these characters more.
Yeah, exactly.
I like how much Happy is in the movie.
Right, yeah. No, Happy is great. John Favreau is super funny. Ned is back, and we love Ned here.
He goes on a whole adventure.
Yeah, he's on a whole thing.
His whole
kind
thing
of separate.
is wild.
Yeah, so
What a roller coaster.
MJ is also around being super charming and good, so that's fun. Yeah. There's a lot to like in this movie. It's just the problem is that and the problems with it aren't necessarily, you know, like new for this movie. It's just when you have it standing in the shadow of Endgame, all of those issues that you used to be able to kind of be like, oh, it's fine.
Because they're leading towards something.
Right. They get way harder to ignore.
Yeah, so let's talk about issues that we had. First, I want to say I did not really buy the drone technology that Mysterio employs. It just took me out of it constantly because like he has these drones flying around that are
like
invisible
countless amount of
for
them.
one thing. And then these drones are projecting images onto nothing.
Right.
Thin air,
they're like the solid holograms.
That are so convincing
Yes.
that it looks like Spider-Man is in like a scarecrow, like
it's straight up
like,
those Mysterio levels
Batman
from
Begins.
PS4 Spider-Man. Like every time, like when it would get like all gassy and you'd have to like do all the like the tricks. Yeah, it's literally that.
Right, which it doesn't. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
How could he possibly do? And they're just like in a building.
Yeah, it doesn't
and yet
quite
this
work.
world, like it's so dynamic, and it's like, did they choreograph all this?
Yeah.
How did they get Iron Man? It sounds like him. Like,
yeah, it's very weird.
who's designing these sequences, because they're incredible.
Yeah, they look amazing.
Like someone's doing the CG for this. You know what I mean? Like he's got this crew of poor, like
they're all like
graphic
these
designers.
Yeah, like
who are like
Mysterio
working.
has got together all of these like disgruntled former like Stark Tech employees, and
Yeah,
so
and
some
they're,
of
like,
them are just amazing at their jobs.
And they're in permanent video game developer crunch mode.
Yes.
Making the most elaborate animations imaginable, all to punk Peter Parker.
Yeah,
Like,
because Peter Parker is now the one who can like expose Mysterio.
I just didn't buy it.
The world in this movie is full of Tony Stark tributes and no other Avengers. So
They have one. They have one at the beginning, the in memoriam video,
which is
lists-
confusing in and of itself. There's like a high school.
confusing.
It's very, very funny. There's like a high school, like they made like a tribute video. It's
With
hilarious.
Vision and
and there's
Black
like Getty
Widow.
Image watermarks all over. It's like
But
a
like,
movie
since when does
maker.
anyone care about Vision or Black Widow? You know
How
what I
do they
mean?
know
Like,
they died? Did Shield like release a press release afterward, being like, oh, also all of these people died?
right, Black Widow died like on another planet.
Right. There's these little details that show up that in and of themselves don't ruin the movie. But when
Right.
you start thinking about them as a whole and you start thinking about the movie as a bigger picture, you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What? Why?
Fury, this all seems like big time. huge superhero kind of stuff. And, I mean, I'm just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, sir.
So, speaking of the Tony Memorials and kind of dealing with the fallout of Endgame, we need to talk about where Far From Home actually fits into the post-Endgame world, because this is the first time we're seeing anything.
Right. So it's several months later.
Yes.
And they, for some reason, they call, I think because everybody in the real world started calling it the Snap, they had to come up with
something new,
some cutesy different name.
Right.
So they call it the Blip.
Right.
Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
It doesn't make a whole lot of, but like
whatever.
they actually show us, there's some clips in the beginning where like they talk about dealing with the blip, and like there's like a cam video, like someone was taking a cell phone video of like a high school like
it's like a basketball game, and then like the marching band just reappears in the middle of it, like, which answers our question, right? It answers our question about what happened to people in planes, what happened to people on ships, and the answer is that they reappeared exactly where they were and died.
Yeah, anybody who was on a plane when the Snap happened is dead now. Anyone who was on a boat, super dead, in surgery, in a hospital, in a car, like in the passenger seat of a car.
You pop back in the middle of open heart surgery, and you just
die.
Well done.
The sincere way that they deal with it is the fact that Peter and May both got snapped out of existence, and then they come back into an apartment that people have already moved into. And so Peter and May have to live in a new apartment, and
May came back into her apartment.
Peter came back on Titan or whatever. So whatever, yeah. So the point being, they don't have an apartment anymore. They had to get a new apartment, and that inspired May to kind of take her comic book journey that she embodies in the books a lot, is this humanitarian who works with like shelters,
right?
And
Feast.
And so she works with it's not Feast in the movie, but it's some sort of shelter that is specifically designed for people who were in her situation, that they came back and found that it's 5 years later and that their apartment had been released,
That stuff was cool. I liked I wanted this movie to deal with the real fallout of the blip, as I will never get used to calling it, in a way that Endgame kind of skirted around. Like when Scott is walking on the street in Endgame, and there's like trash everywhere, and there's like one sad kid on a bike.
Yeah, there's like those aerial shots of like the Statue of Liberty,
like
just
the Mets are gone
completely, like just like their ships like wrecked. It's basically like The Last of Us.
My other big problem with this movie is that it doesn't do nearly enough of that. Like in reality, like I've seen The Leftovers, and I think that the way that plays out is a little bit more realistic, because in reality, if 50% of the population of the planet disappeared, it would be fucking chaos. It would be the end of civilization.
5 years. Like that's not just like, oh, it's 6 months. We kind of held steady and now it's fine. No, for 5 years.
Nuclear reactors would blow up because there would be no one manning them. So like infrastructure of the world's civilizations would crumble. It's crazy. And I never the MCU is not going to go post-apocalyptic,
right?
Even though that's what would realistically happen. But what I didn't expect is like 8 months later, school is back. Like we've had it.
We're
everyone's
taking a wacky trip.
Like,
it's like
we're going on a field trip, and like all of these landmarks are like we're just going to Paris or whatever. Like
tourism is booming.
Everything's fine. Like it didn't go far enough. I think.
Which is kind of a problem with just the Spider-Man movies in general, is the fact that like these movies have to have that sort of like lighthearted tone, and so it had that lighthearted tone at the expense of everything else.
If you're gonna have, an
event,
you wrote the check. A cataclysm on that scale, you got to deal with the fallout, and instead they're kind of like focusing in on like Iron Man's dead, oh no, and kind of brushing everything else aside. And it's like,
it's world building for Peter at the expense of world building for the MCU. Like it kind of feels like the gas tank got shot full of holes, and now we're kind of like petering out.
There's like really not a ton of momentum in this movie. It's like, I don't know what we're building toward.
No.
Who are you? I work with Spider-Man.
You work for Spider-Man?
I work with Spider-Man, not for Spider-Man. New plan.
So speaking of lacking momentum, the movie ends, and then all of that momentum comes back like pedal to the metal.
Yes, the first post-credit scene is so tight because
it's wild.
Because Mysterio recorded a video. I guess I wasn't clear when it happened. It was like in between him getting shot by his own drone and then Peter coming up.
Right.
I guess he recorded a video accusing Peter of his murder and then exposing who fucking Spider-Man is.
Yes. It's wild. So like it is a double whammy of Mysterio, and the delivery method of said video is so you get Peter, in Spider-Man regalia swinging through Times Square, and suddenly on the Jumbotron, J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson from Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Well, yeah. J.K. Simmons reprising his role from PS4 Spider-Man, which is reprising his role from the Tobey Maguire movies, and which in the game was like an InfoWars Alex Jones style kind of bastardization of J. Jonah Jameson.
Right. So we have the Bugle now, and the Bugle got this special report, and the special report is this cam recorded video of Jake Gyllenhaal being like, Peter Parker is a liar. He murdered me.
Yeah, it's good.
He's behind all of this. Also, he's this kid, and so it's like a picture of Peter, and he's
like in the middle of Times Square
in Spider-Man costume, being
it's super good. Yeah, and it ends with what the f***, which is the line that Spider-Man Homecoming ended with when May saw him in his Spider-Man costume. So it's like a fun callback too.
What the? And then it's not even over because there's a second post-credit scene. And it's wild, and so it's literally.
This is the one that I have so many questions.
I know it's insane. So after that giant holy shit, they go through the whole the whole credits, and there is a reveal then that the Hill and Fury,
both Maria Hill and Nick Fury,
who we have been with this whole time, are actually Talos and his wife, the two Skrulls from Captain Marvel, who have been filling in for Fury and Hill, while Fury is up in the space station.
Fury is up on the Skrull space station.
Right.
First, he's in a Corona commercial on a beach, and then it zooms out,
and it's like a simulator. Like that was his vacation on. It's
just like vacation. How many times can this movie fuck with me?
It's wild.
Why? So I don't understand why. Why are these Skrulls posing as Nick Fury and
the implication?
Why is Samuel L. Jackson up in space?
The implication is that there's a throwaway line. It's literally just kind of cast off in the middle of the movie where Fury / Talos now says something like, "Oh, they're Kree sleeper cells." Something Kree sleeper cells, and just glosses right by it.
Oh, right.
And so the implication.
I completely forgot.
Yeah.
About that.
So the implication here is that Fury and Hill, or Talos and his wife, are now on the hunt with Fury and co. to root out these Kree sleeper cells. We don't know what they are. We don't know what constitutes a Kree sleeper cell. We don't know what that means, really.
But why have they replaced the real Fury and Hill?
Because I guess he was on vacation.
Couldn't they pose as somebody else and Fury could just be helping with that?
Yes.
What is Fury doing? It seems like Fury really is just on a space vacation.
Yes, Fury was on a space vacation.
Which feels irresponsible at this moment in time.
Yes, it does kind of feel
not a good time for.
But I mean, the kind of net gain from this reveal is the fact that we now know that the Skrulls have been active in the MCU since the 90s, so that's
apparently
go back and now rewatch every movie and try to pick out who was who.
Well, because that was the question when Captain Marvel was coming out. Was like, is this going to do a secret invasion thing where suddenly we're going to be wondering who's the Skrull, who isn't? Is there going to be a big reveal? And there wasn't, I guess, because they were saving it for now.
Yes.
So the Skrulls do matter, and we have to take back everything bad we said about Captain Marvel.
Yeah, the Skrulls and Captain Marvel.
Just kidding.
But no, so the kind of meta text of this reveal is the fact that Fury has kind of taken on his comic book persona. He was briefly in the comics known as the Man on the Wall, which didn't have anything to do with the Skrulls at the time, but he was the sort of cosmic defender of Earth.
Who was?
Fury.
What?
Nick Fury was the Man on the Wall, and he would sit back in this sort of cosmic, all-knowing scheme, and he was like the guy who dealt with cosmic threats and protected the galaxy. And so that's kind of, it's not exactly what's happening here.
Is that what they're doing though?
Kinda. Yeah. And the same way that the Kree sleeper cells is an inverted secret invasion. So now, I mean, it's weird.
Right, where the Kree are the bad guys and the Skrulls are the good guys.
The Kree are shapeshifters. So
how are they doing this?
How are they doing this? What actually makes a Kree sleeper agent?
I feel like the MCU has dug itself into this impossible hole where it's there's all these moving parts and I have no idea what any of it is leading toward.
Right.
And in a way that's exciting, but also what the guys?
Yeah, it's gonna be very weird because I think what we're gonna get is a Kreekrull War with a definitive, instead of being oh no, the MCU are caught, or the Avengers are caught in this impossible middle ground between two bad guys, it's gonna be the Avengers and the Skrulls are
Yeah.
the righteous heroes, and the Kree are evil and horrible, and that's who we have to
Seems a
deal
lot
with.
more clear cut.
Yes. So I think that's where we're headed, which is really kind of cool, sort of.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. So those are the two. I mean, arguably the two biggest post-credit scenes we've ever had.
Those were huge. I
Yeah.
mean, it certainly was no Howard the Duck.
Gross.
No, these were huge. These
Yeah.
these were like definitely my favorite post-credits scenes in a long time. Okay, well that's Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Yep.
Now you know what we thought. Hopefully you agree. If you don't, you can yell at us on Twitter. I'm at Rogue Cheddar.
I'm at Rusty Polished.
And thanks for watching.
Bye.